Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah. I'm sat here with Helen, who just got back from playing soccer, so it's a soccer-filled day for Helen.
I was abysmal, but also I play with... Can I shout them out? I play with an LGBTQ plus team called Rover and Out, and they are like allies as well, and they are based in Liverpool, and they are like mint. They're all grown men and me. And today we played our first fixture. And it was so good. They are just so nice. They're just the nicest guys. They're all Scousers. Some of them are old enough to be my dad, but they're all mint. They're like my gang.
Were you bad because you hadn't played in a while, or were you bad just because you're bad?
We're quite good. But the opposition were all like 17, like really fit.
Oh.
So they just mugged me off, basically. They just were like, she's the slowest person ever. But I'm proud of the team. We lost, I want to say 6-4. So we scored 4. We had a few cracking moments. And I'm feeling pretty good now. You know, when you get that after exercise buzz.
Totally. I'm going to make a little joke that I'm allowed to make because I'm a really big Kelly O'Hara fan. But when you said that you were like the slow one getting mugged off by everybody, I was like, so you were the Kelly O'Hara from...
You can't say that.
From the Swedish game.
We will come on to that.
We will get into that. Yeah. Hey, I'm allowed to say it because I love her, okay?
You are allowed to say it. I'll let you off. This week was amazing.
It was hot, as you like to say.
Hot.
It's hotting up in here.
It's getting hot in here.
I was gonna say, do you reference that song or do you stay with the it's hotting up in here instead of it's getting hot in here?
I always reference that song. Any excuse to take off all my clothes.
I do want to drop this. I actually think that. Just a fantastic little fact about me.
Where are we going with this?
I once did an extra credit chemistry rap to It's Getting Hot in Here.
No. What made up the lyrics referencing chemistry?
Yeah, it was about entropy. So like the whole rap was about entropy, but it was set to It's Getting Hot in Here.
You know, anyone at home that thought Sarah is a cool chick has just literally at that moment gone, oh no.
I'm pretty sure that makes me more cool. I'm worried that people are going to start digging into my social media to try to find it. It's not online, you guys. It's not online.
Can you just write up the lyrics for our socials?
I actually do have a picture of the piece of paper. I found it recently.
Yes.
I went home to visit my parents and I found it in a box of like old school things. So I actually do have the lyrics.
Oh my God, buzzing. I can't wait. In this week's episode, Sarah is speaking to the Louisville Heretics. Thank you so much for them for coming on. How exciting.
Absolutely. I have to shout out, go follow them on Twitter. They are the #1 official or first official fan group for Racing Louisville. They are at Lou Heretics, so LOU Heretics.
Yay, and we are obviously covering the NWSL Challenge Cup as well as covering international fixtures that have happened. You're dancing as if we're celebrating.
We're celebrating just how much soccer is on TV. I miss the WSL, but I have to say I was glad that there were no games this weekend. Like, my brain would have exploded.
We were literally saying over text, weren't we, like, how are we going to do this? And then you were like, Helen, I've just checked. We're idiots. There's no fixtures. I was like, thank the Lord.
Of course we're idiots. It's international break.
So firstly, I just want to shout out. You can now head over to, this is so exciting, thewososhow.com because our website is live. We've got some amazing pieces about the NWSL teams, players, who to look out for, the new clubs obviously entering, and loads about the NWSL tournament. Do give us a follow at The Woso Show on socials. Just follow along as we try and cover this mad few weeks left in European seasons and the NWSL Challenge Cup because it's going to be wild.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild.
Let's get on with the show. So it's finally here. This is Sarah's baby, so I'm going to actually give her a lot of this.
Thank you.
The NWSL is back. You definitely, be honest now, put your hands up, be honest. The NWSL, you stand that over the WSL, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, no, not even doubting that.
I'm not even going to try to. Yeah, no. NWSL is greater than the WSL, and I know I just pissed off like half of our listeners, if not
They've
more.
all turned off.
Yeah, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. If you like the WSL more, if you like the W League, whatever you like. For me, I love them all, but NWSL is number one.
What I will say, the opening game, Houston Dash versus Chicago Red Stars, was a 0-0. Bit of a damp squib. What would you say?
Bit of a damp squib, darling.
Bit of a damp squib.
If there was ever a time where a damp squib was appropriate, I would say it was right now.
A wet firework.
A slippery banana, if you will. I think the reason why it was a bit of a damp squib is because there was a lot of build up to this. This was the NWSL Challenge Cup 2020 final. Houston Dash, Chicago Red Stars. It was a great game, and I was really excited for the matchup. I was really excited for the rematch, for the fact that it was the first game of the Challenge Cup. Like, everything was building to this game, and quite frankly, in my opinion, it was the lack of the international players that made it so terrible. It was like both teams were playing with a totally different squad than they'd been practicing with this whole time. Because, you know, they've gone through preseason with everybody on their team, and then 6 players from the Dash take off, and they have to fill half of their starting lineup, and 3 players from Chicago take off, and they have to fill 3 players from their starting lineup. And I think that really factored in. That, I want to be very clear, is not me saying that the NWSL hangs in the hands of international players. I think we saw from all of the rest of the games that that's not the case. But this game specifically, yeah, it was a damp squib.
The other thing is that you expect Houston Dash, because of the way they play, to come out the traps and be really, like, physical, just because that's their style. So I kind of missed that. But luckily, Portland and Kansas were next in line to throw some major hot fireworks into the mix. The game finished 2-1 to Portland Thorns and ended with 4 red cards.
Yes.
Lots of yellow cards as well during the game. It was not just like the last few minutes. The whole game was a bit fiery, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love this name. Rocky Rodriguez. I love this chick. She was my player of the match. But I digress. The first 20 minutes were lively as anything, end to end. Rodriguez had another chance, 15th, smashed it from 30 yards. Forced a fingertip save. You heard the fingers like slap, and you do wonder what the rest could have been without Adriana Franch in goal. She's such a talent, lot to prove. She made some crucial saves before Portland put away another headed goal. Lucy, the forward, got on the end of a swooping cross into the box from open play. Kansas did get back into the game just before the 60th. Bit of lazy defending from Portland. Eventually they bury the ball. By no means was this comfortable for Portland. I was expecting personally that it would be a bit more comfortable. And in the 90th minute, as we're kind of hand over to you, they were forced, because they're 2-1 up, to take the ball to the corner flag, waste a bit of time, you know, take it there. And then what happened?
Well, then all of the red cards ensued.
It just was wild.
Yeah, it really was. It just was a bit of a scrappy, chippy play that just escalated. And emotions got the better of some players, and that happens sometimes. I mean, it's never fun to see, but it's also sometimes fun to see.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I will say, I've not really seen much of this in the men's game over the last 10 years, but they're running away from the goal, and we've actually done the image on our social. We said caption this on our
We got
Twitter,
some great responses too.
Oh my God. It's so funny. And it's the Kansas player is just basically hand slapping, but with force, like a punch slap in the face over her mouth. It was shocking.
It was shocking.
Player of the match for me, Rocky Rodriguez. What did you make?
Yeah, I think player of the match, A-Rod for me on Kansas City. I mean, A-Rod always plays with just like a fire in her. And she's been a constant on that team, previously on the Utah Royals, who are now Kansas City. When they were playing in Utah, she was just a constant and reliable, and I just appreciate she's really, really consistent, and she pulled them up, I thought, in that game. And I was really impressed by Kansas City, and I think a lot of that comes from A-Rod and her leadership.
So interesting, because you forget a club is obviously made up by members of a squad all coming together, but this tournament is so different. So it's like, this is not the Portland Thorns that we saw at the NWSL Challenge Cup. It's not the Portland Thorns that we saw almost going all the way a couple of years ago in the NWSL. It's a completely different squad, isn't it?
Totally. It's a totally different squad, and it's about to be, week and a half, a completely other squad when all of their internationals return. But yeah, I think that's part of the fun of the Challenge Cup right now is that no team looks the same as it looked last year.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I just had a great weekend.
Yeah, I know. I am exhausted from the 12 a.m. kickoffs. Sarah texted me last night.
Yeah.
And it was about 1 a.m. and you were like, are you not asleep yet? And I was like, I'll go to bed soon.
You couldn't. You had to watch Louisville.
I know. I was like, oh my God, my eyes pinning them open. Let's move on to everyone's favorite NWSL club, the NCC. That's my favorite joke.
You're allowed to do that because it's like punching up. They've won so many times that North Carolina fans just, it's almost like they don't even feel that punch being thrown because they're like, yeah, whatever. Like, do you want to look at all of our trophies?
And this is why I always feel upset when you say that Manchester United are underdogs. I've lived through 25 years of pain. So NCC scraped a 3-2 win in terms of scoreline. Oh, yeah. I could not get over when the lineup came out. They went with a 4-2-2-2 lineup, and there was so much space. You could see it in the opening minutes. There was so much space in that central pocket because there was no width because they had two players playing in that midfield. It's such an interesting formation, but it's hard to understand how they weren't walking this game, if I'm totally honest. They've got Carson Pickett, Hayley Mace, Davinia, McDonald, Hamilton. I mean, the experience. Before this game, what would your prediction have been?
Yeah, it would not have been 3-2. I thought they were going to absolutely, and no offense to Spirit fans, but I thought they were going to totally roll over Washington. But I love that we're seeing these teams that I didn't think were going to be as competitive as they are. They're showing up right now.
Yes.
Like Kansas City,
yeah.
like Utah had a rough 2020, and now they're in Kansas City. There was really no reason to believe they would show up too different, and they showed up. And now we got Washington showing up strong, who had a rough 2020 also. So yeah, this was fantastic. Obviously, North Carolina did suffer a few losses of some key players, so a bit of a bummer for them. But their lineup is so stacked, frankly, that shouldn't have made too much of an impact.
It was a really exciting opener because they went down 1-0. Washington scored 1-0 in the first 5 minutes. I think it was even in the first 3 minutes. Total banana slip from the NCC. The keeper is frozen to the spot. Yokimana rolls it to the bottom corner, takes the ball, dummies their player, slots it home inside the box. It was such a simple moment, but it only took North Carolina 5 minutes to get back into it. World-class play from these two forward icons, McDonald and Hamilton. The commentator said she did not throw away her shot. And I died on the spot.
Yeah,
if you don't get that reference,
everybody's got to get that reference. It's all over social media too. It's a picture of her.
I won't be your friend.
It's pretty great. Love to see Jess McDonald really showing up and proving her spot, maybe to find her way back onto the national team too.
I was actually going to come on to that and have a little debate. Because obviously McDonald eventually gets the NCC ahead for the 30th, drags the keeper in, chips it over her, so calm. Carson Pickett, who I love, by the way, manages to put that perfect pass through the back line. McDonald gets on the end of it, body between the defender, just striker through and through. Just manages to basically epitomize everything that's great about striker: strength, control, consistency, and chipping the keeper. It's so naughty. With McDonald, should she be in the mix for US Women's National Team Olympics?
I think she should at least be in, given her opportunity. Yeah, I mean, she hasn't even been called into camp this year, and I think that that's a loss. I really do think that she's underrated and she deserved a bit more of a showing. She didn't get a lot of minutes in the World Cup, and I thought she deserved at least to go to camp with Vladko at least once and show what she's made of. But she hasn't been called in with Vladko, and I think that's a big miss for him, yeah.
But it's a sign also of what's to come. I mean, I say it all the time when it comes to sort of Neville and his decisions with the England camp. It's like, you've evidently made your decision about who you want in the mix, and she's not in it, and I just find that baffling. It should have been 3-1 in the first 20 seconds of the second half, but NCC just weren't quite clinical enough, put it wide, but then in the 50th, oh my God, Matthias scores a gorgeous chip outside the area, just so
it was delicious.
Stunning.
We love when players can catch the goalie out of position and then chip the ball. I mean, it's just
And then I have a question now. Like, this is the most English person question ever because I feel like I'm just about to ask you who Beckham is. But then Washington get back in the mix with a lovely first touch goal from Rodman, who's making probably the most important appearance of her life. Apparently, there's a guy called Rodman.
Oh my God, Helen.
And it's his daughter? Okay. Rodman. Is he a soccer player?
No, he's a basketball player. You are basically asking me who David Beckham is in a way. Dennis Rodman played on the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, and they were like the three who made that team what it was and won all of those championships. And he's also just a very like eccentric personality. You should watch The Last Dance. It's absolutely incredible. It's about all of this.
I'm on it. But I love that she came out and she was like, it's actually my mum that's had such a huge impact on me as an athlete. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yes, I love that girl. Like, because it must feel really hard if your child becomes like a super athlete. Let's say the Beckham's one of their kids and they're like, it must have been David. And she's like, no, actually, Victoria was super helpful too, you know?
I love that. I would love that.
Yeah, so nice.
I'd be like, I listen to Spice World to pump myself up before every game, and that is why my mom has been the most influential person in my life. That is, by the way, not me throwing shade. The Spice Girls are a very important thing in my entire world.
So why would we talk about, racing Louisville when we could get the racing Louisville Heretics to come on and talk with us? So we're going to hand over to them now, who were talking to Sarah earlier today. I'm so excited for you to hear this.
I'm so excited to share it. Quite honestly, we could have talked for like an hour and a half easily just about Louisville and then another 2 hours about all of the NWSL, but we kept it pretty tight for you. They share some really interesting stuff that I didn't really even know about, so enjoy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I am here with the Louisville Heretics, who are the first official NWSL Racing Louisville supporters group. Welcome to the show. Thank you both for being here.
Wow, this is probably the first time on a podcast you've had every single member of a supporters group on simultaneously. So congratulations.
Well, I hope that means we're going to get a lot of information from you about this game, which we're about to talk about. First question, not about the game, but I do want to ask where Heretics comes from.
Well, it comes from a couple of different things. One, when we started out, we were the second supporters group for Louisville City Football Club. And so we kind of were breaking away a little bit from the original one, which was the Coopers. We decided we just wanted to sort of be agents of chaos and stir up as much trouble as possible. So there's that. There's also the factor that in Kentucky, where we live, next to being a Baptist, basketball is probably the second official religion. And so the fact that we greatly prefer soccer and or football, whatever you want to call it, to either basketball or college sports definitely puts us in a bit of an outsider status. So it kind of works a couple of different ways.
I love it. Before I jump in, can you tell the people where they can follow you on Twitter? I would do that last, but I want to make sure I get that in there, and I don't trust myself to remember. So where can they follow you on Twitter?
At Lou Heretics, LOUHERETICS.
All right. Amazing. I don't trust myself to say that at the end because we're about to get into the game, and it was a doozy of a game. We had quite an opening weekend overall with some incredible games. Apparently NWSL After Dark is like an entirely new thing in itself, which is really fun. For those of you who don't know, Racing Louisville played their first ever game. They took on the Orlando Pride in Louisville, which was really fun to have a home game as an opener. The end result was a 2-2 draw, but it was a really exciting one. Louisville goes up 1-0. Orlando comes back and ties it, and then they go up 2-1, and then Louisville scores in stoppage time to tie the game. Absolutely ridiculous. So first things first, no question this was an incredible way to open the franchise and generate some excitement. What did you feel about the game, though? Because it was a 2-2 draw. They didn't get the 3 points. How'd you feel about the game and the result as a whole?
I mean, you always want the 3 points. So, of course, that's disappointing. When you're down 1 in stoppage, to come out with a draw feels huge, and especially for your first game where you score first pretty early, and I think I really love just showing the resilience of the team, and especially it's a new team, new group of people together in your first official match, to be able to really have that still push and that drive and still making strong attempts and attacks late in the game, I think is really huge. And so for the team's confidence in general, I think, and cohesion, I really love to see that. And also just, this is Louisville. It's not, we've got a lot of soccer support. We've got a good soccer fan base now, but to start your franchise with losses isn't great. And so to have it with an exciting, hey, draw at the end where you're able to hit it in the end and kind of steal the victory from the other team, I think that's great. I think it's really exciting. And so I was, all things considered, if you're not going to win, I was really pleased with that result.
I saw a stat on TV where they said that other than 5 players, the remainder of the roster had a combined total of 30 games experience in the NWSL. So it's a very young team, very hungry team. I think it's promising. The racing, they're not the Washington Generals. They're not just going to show up and lose week after week. And it was frustrating, especially because if you really think about it, that Louisville could have been up 5-2 by the end.
A couple of good opportunities.
He had a
there,
couple
yeah.
of chances in the first 5 minutes. In stoppage time, Malay almost scored in the 91st minute. She almost scored in the 88th minute. Just less than a minute before Orlando scored that go-ahead goal, we almost went ahead. And boy, how that would have changed the dynamic.
That's a really interesting statistic. They play like a young team with a lot of fight, and I mean that in a really good way. And strangely, like you were saying, I know it was a draw, but at the end of the day, I turned the game off, and it felt almost like a Louisville victory to me. I was really happy for them. I'm being pulled into being a Louisville supporter right now. Not to mention those kids are, I think, the coolest kids in the NWSL. I just have to shout that out. They're so sick.
Yeah, I'll be getting one. They just released them for fan consumption or purchase, I think yesterday maybe, on their store. But yeah, that's on my list of things to do.
Yeah.
I love those lilies.
One thing about that, though, that I think was a missed opportunity, people here love this team so much. They could have pre-sold those sight unseen last year during the holidays, and they would have made a ton of money off of it.
Oh, yeah. I would have bought without seeing it.
Oh, yeah. Plenty of people would have bought those even without seeing them. So I think that was a missed opportunity. Yeah, they look great.
Okay.
And if you're leaning toward becoming a racing Louisville, I'll tell you what will really sell you is come to Louisville. Meet the people, see what the environment's like, see what – I moved here 10 years ago, and every day for the first 2 weeks, I bugged the crap out of my wife by saying, God, I love living here. It's a really great town.
I love that. I mean, not to sound too cheesy, but I felt like I could feel through the TV the energy and the excitement in the stadium as a whole from all of the fans who were just really pumped to have a team, for that to be their team, and they just wanted to be there supporting. And it seemed like it was a really positive, really fun, really energetic atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you saw the attendance. They had less than 6,000 people. If I remember correctly, the stadium has 12,000 seats, and with standing room, it has a capacity of 15,000. At the old baseball stadium, I know this isn't men's soccer, but this kind of gives you a glimpse of the fan base. They were playing in a minor league baseball stadium, and before COVID, they were averaging over 9,000 per game. And that's for second division men's soccer. And I know with the season tickets, I think they've had, I don't know how many different states people reside in who have bought season tickets.
Yeah.
I want to say, for some reason, I'm thinking 11. But
I love it. I mean, I guess the NWSL did it right. They knew that part of the country was hungry for a soccer team, and here we are. So getting into the game, talked about the result. Overall, it was a good feeling moving forward. I want to know specifically within the game, what did you see that you really liked, that impressed you? And also, what did you see that you think is going to be a sticking point or maybe a reason for a loss moving forward? What do you think that they can improve on after that game?
I think a growth edge is definitely going to be just the youngness of the team in general as a unit. Like we just spoke about, a lot of missed opportunities, things that were really close, and I think that will definitely improve as the season goes on and you get some real opportunities to play in actual games together. But I think that's one of their areas they're really going to have to focus on most, because I just think that, there were a ton of great opportunities in there.
Yeah, we had a couple in the first 5 minutes. We had another one I think it was in the 19th minute, where we just seemed to be kind of disorganized. And we were in the box. We had all these kind of frantic short passes, And it seemed like we could have had 3 more in the first half and 2 more in the second half. And oddly enough, that's been the Achilles heel of our other pro team too, is finishing chances.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. I think you guys bring up some really good points. I think for a team who's playing their first official game, obviously they had some like precursor games against college teams, but for their first official game, they did seem like they really had a game plan, which is credit to their coach, had a game plan, knew how they wanted to move the ball, knew what style of play they wanted to focus in on and at least work towards. And that was really, really great to see. There were all of these things that they really could work on. And being a young team, I think it's like almost a double-sided coin, right? There's some really good things about it, like what we saw where there's so much energy and almost like a nothing to lose attitude because, hey, there really isn't much to lose. And then there's the other side of it where sometimes you need a little bit of a grounded presence. Sometimes you can get a little frantic, and maybe if there had been more of that, maybe some more goals would have gone in. But I completely agree with everything both of you are saying. Who do you think stood out in your mind for this game? And who would you say, for those listening who, like me, are becoming quick fans of Louisville, who are like players to watch?
I mean, the one I think folks I know everyone's really paying attention to it is Amina Ekic, because she grew up here. She's a ACC Offensive Player of the Year. She's played soccer here, high school, college, and now to start her first game. I know around here, all eyes are watching her. I don't know if you saw this on social media, but there's a billboard. She has her own billboard now in town.
I saw it. I think it's such a great story just as a whole. Like when she got drafted and everything, I'm just such a fan of the story.
Yeah, Louisville is a big, small town. And so, with the population-wise, we're the biggest in Kentucky, but compared to big cities, we're not. And it really does have a small town feel. And so there's just a real sense of community around her. I think Malay was really impressive, especially in that second half. Very, very dangerous. Savannah McCaskill. I mean, I just love watching her. I had this kind of surreal moment where she was taking a corner kick, and I was right behind her looking at her and going, oh my gosh, I've been watching her for years, and now, she's in person. I'll tell you who I'm really interested in. Is someone who I don't even know who it is yet. And here's what I'm talking about. So James O'Connor, who's the Executive Vice President of Development, has a history of scouting out players that are not on anyone's radar. And this has happened over and over again in the past with Louisville's other team, where he would get players and everyone would be like, why did you get that guy? All he's done is played like indoor soccer, like semi-pro indoor soccer, and they end up becoming like one of the legends of the club. And there've been many cases where we would get a player and from another team, and that team's fans would be like, why are you wasting your time on this guy? He's been sitting on the bench for the last year and a half, and then come in and become a local legend. And so what I'm really excited about are the players that everyone's sleeping on. No one, like, you don't know who's going to be the standout. There's some who are pretty obvious, like Yuki and Sav, and then our players who are playing elsewhere right now and may or may not come here. But there are going to be some folks who surprise everyone, because I know a lot of folks were throwing shade towards Racing's way when they were building the roster, like, why'd they get this person? Why'd they get that person? One of the things that's really important in our club is character and culture. And I don't know if they're doing this with Racing, but with the other team, they used to do personality testing. They hired a psychologist in town to do psychological testing on all the players. And if you didn't have the right personality, they wouldn't sign you to the team. It didn't matter how many goals you could score, how many assists, or how many shots you could block. It didn't matter. If you had the wrong attitude, they didn't want you. And so this is a very culture-based club, and so people are being signed not just for skill, but for attitude and character. And so seeing how that plays out in time is anybody's guess.
I think that's so underrated. Like, you're not going to have a championship team. I mean, obviously there have been championship teams where people don't get along, but at the end of the day, when you're talking specifically really about soccer too, you're going to need your team to gel. You're going to need them to get along. You're going to need them to buy into the culture. I think that was really clear. That became clear to me. I appreciate you shedding some light on it, because I didn't know that whole history behind it. But it became clear to me that Racing Louisville was doing something different when they hosted open tryouts for anybody across, I guess, not even the country. Like if you lived in a different country, you wanted to fly over here and try out, you could. But they hosted open tryouts, and that's when it became a little clear to me that they were doing something different. All right, I'm going to try to – I have one final question for you, and I'm going to try to say this without upsetting Orlando fans. And Orlando fans, I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, but Louisville took on Orlando in their first match. And the fact of the matter is that's a bit of a different matchup than say taking on a defending champion North Carolina Courage, two-time defending champion North Carolina Courage. How do you think Louisville will fare against the remaining teams in their bracket?
I think it's a nice way to start, obviously. Again, not trying to just be like cruel towards others, but for a young team to have something that's a little bit more of a easing in kind of into things, see that here's some of the mistakes, here's some things where we really need to be shoring stuff up and not getting totally smoked for it as a result. I think that as the season goes on, those will be good challenges. And, again, some of those young aspects of our team will be exploited as, you would do. But I think that overall, I feel like we've got a strong, well-led team that I think we're gonna do well. And I think that, if we're not to make any predictions about final records, but I think that
I love this. Go for it.
I think we're going to end up with a point, a place on the table that feels very appropriate to Louisville's brief history of kind of soccer success. That it might not be the best, it might not be the worst, but we're going to be in there fighting out points, and really, there are going to be teams that might sleep on a young team, and we're going to come in and we're really going to pop on them. And so I'm looking forward to it.
I think you're going to see happening is that the reputation of the team and our players and our club and our culture are only going to get better and better as time goes on. And you're going to find we're a team who's going to be really easy to root for, and a fan base who's really easy to connect with.
Well, I can absolutely attest to how pleasant and amazing Louisville fans are. Thank you both for being on. This is a great franchise. I'm really excited to follow it. So everybody go follow Louisville Heretics on Twitter, and we're excited for this next upcoming game against Washington Spirit. Thank you both for being on here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
All right.
So this week's Around the World is country hopping rather than league hopping, as we take on the international scene.
Oh, changing it up a little bit.
I like to do that.
Yeah.
I like to do it. So here we go. Around the world, around the world. Both of us have had, you wouldn't think it from how happy we are doing this episode, Sarah, but we've had pretty rubbish weeks when it comes to our number one supported teams. England lost 3-1 to France. The US Women's National Team drew 1-1 against Sweden. I think Sarah and I both agree should have probably been 1-0 in the end.
Yes, it should have been 1-0. We did not deserve to win that game. We did not deserve to tie that game. Number one, because of how we were playing, and number two, because that foul was outside the box. You heard it here. Megan Rapinoe, just as Megan Rapinoe does, beautiful penalty. But quite frankly, we got outworked on the field, player to player, and tactic-wise got completely outworked as well. They just overtook us, and we didn't know how to handle their attack. Our back line was really discombobulated. They overloaded the wings, and I thought Crystal Dunn handled it really well. I think she handled their attack on the wing really well. I thought Kelly O'Hara got really picked apart. And it's really hard when you slot in a new center back. Davidson was playing center back. I'm a big fan of Tierna Davidson. I thought she played relatively well, but there were some moments of disorganization. And, Sweden could have been up 2-3-0. There were a couple moments where I was just shocked that they didn't put that goal away. So
totally,
not a good performance. At the end of the day, though, I'm kind of happy that this happened. It's not good to go into a tournament having just walked all over opponents. And Megan Rapinoe said something similar after the game, essentially to the effect of, this was no disrespect to the teams that were in the She Believes Cup, but this was our first true top five competition in a long time, and that's what they need. So all in all, disappointing result, disappointing play, but I think that this could possibly be the best thing that happens to the team.
Can I just say, I fear for, we will come on to it in a sec, but the next team that meets US Women's National Team,
France.
La France.
Yeah, I don't fear for them ever. I think they handle it.
I
wonderfully.
We'll come back together next week, Sarah, and we'll have a little chin wag about how
I'll have a chin
you're
wag.
like. And then Rapinoe scores a 6th, and it was all over, really.
Well, speaking of France, let's get into the England versus France game.
Oh, do we have to?
I mean, you're looking at me like you got destroyed 6-0. 3-1, it's not a great result, but it's not abysmal.
The thing that's most disappointing for me is actually, I really don't think the score reflected the game. England had more shots. They had 61% possession. We controlled much of the second half. It wasn't clinical enough from us. That's just a fact. You could see that it was a friendly in the sense that we didn't start with what would be our chosen lineup. So for me, that was frustrating because I think I'd tweeted earlier in the day being like, this feels like the biggest England game since the World Cup. So then to see a lineup where I was like, I don't think this reflects the starting lineup that would go to the Euros next year, I was a bit like, oh man. It was amazing to see Fran Kirby back. She is world class. I don't think there's any denying that. I think Lauren Hemp will become world class. She was a shining light when she came on the last bit. She got us the penalty, which was well deserved. In a serious game, I doubt that she can now go behind Beth Mead. Sorry to any Arsenal fans out there, but I think that Lauren Hemp has to be number one. France were able to get into those really dangerous pockets in the final third, and we did miss Lucy Bronze. And there's a few things that I'm going to backtrack on. Anybody that's listened to us, meticulously over the last however long will be saying, oh my God, you are such a snake, Helen, because you definitely didn't say this. But one thing for me is I don't think Williamson is our best shout for a centre-back. And I know that I've been saying for ages that she should be given a shot, but we really did miss Steph Houghton. We missed her experience. We missed her shouts. We missed her keeping the line. And I think some of those errors that happened in those, left and right back or left wing and right wing pockets where they got crosses in that they just shouldn't have got in, you just felt a little bit like it was slightly lackluster in that area.
What if it was Steph and Leah Williamson as the two center backs and Millie Bright didn't start?
I think Millie Bright has just really proved herself over the last in a Chelsea shirt, but also in her brief moments in an England shirt. I think she's been one of the only kind of shining lights over the many months under Phil Neville. Finally, I think the only thing I'll say is big lesson learned. I want us to go into that Canada game to win it and to win it comfortably, because Canada have obviously come off the back of a really good win against Wales. I want to go in there and be like, this is an important game. My starting lineup would be Roebuck, Bronze. I don't know who I'd put in for Houghton at the moment. I'll think about it. Maybe Wooben Moy, Bright, Kira Walsh, Fran Kirby, Jordan Nobbs. Again, worried about Jordan Nobbs a little bit. And then it would be, you're going to laugh because obviously it's the Man City trio, Lauren Hemp, Chloe Kelly and Ellen White up front. Yeah, I just think if we want to stand a chance going into tournaments, that we need to start now treating friendlies a little bit less testing.
Yeah, it's difficult when you don't have a lot of games leading up to a tournament, because you need to have the preliminary games where you get to test people out, and then you want to have the games after that where you start to get really competitive. And right now those are being mushed together, and you kind of have to choose one or the other.
It's tough. And same as you guys, I feel like the Northern Ireland game was a confidence boost, 6-0. But similarly, it's not a huge test, and I'm not really sure what we got from that as a team. The France game was our first test, and, we didn't start with what I believe to be our best lineup, but I also don't believe that Hegarisa thought was our best lineup. Quick shout out to Rachel Daly standing in that Lucy Bronze position, because it's really tough, and she was brilliant, and that I stan Rachel Daly, so all over that. Will she be going back for the NWSL, by the way?
I assume that all of these players will be going back to the NWSL, but I really don't know. But yeah, that's been my assumption. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. I have one more thing to say about the U.S. Women's National Team.
Please, get back in there.
I feel like I touched on the defense, and now I just want to touch on our offense for a quick moment, because I actually said this at the beginning of our first game of She Believes. And the style of play, the tactics were just so unclear. And this was definitely a symptom of not being able to execute those, because Sweden was shutting us down so well. But this is the second time I felt like I've watched the U.S. Women's National Team play and been like, what are we going for here, guys? What's the goal? What we were able to put together when we were able to put things together was beautiful. And I credit Lindsey Horan and Rose Lavelle, frankly, for the majority of that, because they both had absolutely incredible games. But our forwards really disappeared into the mix. Lynn Williams absolutely disappeared. Carly Lloyd disappeared. Kristen Press disappeared. And it's disappointing, and it's very much not like the team to not look like they have a game plan that they're trying to execute on offense, a way to break down Sweden.
Yeah, totally. We will come back with more international chit-chat after this advert break. I still love saying that. I still love saying it.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
And we're out of the advert now, but I just want to reiterate, WOSO10 at checkout gets you something for €10 a year. Like, come on.
€10 that you could spend on like coffee and a bagel one morning. Or it could just get you a year-long subscription. I think that choice is pretty clear.
I love our sales like chat and pitter-patter. I really feel like
we both do have sales experience, so
we do.
We're getting too personal though. Getting into Spain, we are not going to La Liga. Instead, we are going to talk about the Spanish national team who took on the Netherlands, which I was very excited for this matchup because I actually think that their styles of play would make for a very interesting game and a very interesting matchup.
Before you announce it, what would be your prediction of this game?
Oh, I would have predicted that the Netherlands would have won.
I would have said they would have battered Spain.
I don't know about battered, but I definitely would have thought like a 2-0.
I'm so shocked by this. So go tell everybody what happened, especially with their goal scoring ability. Sorry, go.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and the fact that they're ranked so high. I mean, listen, the Netherlands were in the World Cup finals and Spain got knocked out in the round of 16, I think, by the US. Like, yeah. There's a very big difference here. Anyways, Spain beat the Netherlands.
What?
1-0, with the winner being scored by Patricia Guiado. Plays for Champions League 2021 winners, Barcelona.
I wanted you to say that.
Helen literally wrote that out for me to say. I just had to say it. Oh, man.
But she's so key in that Barcelona squad as well. I just had to say it. Sorry. She doesn't play for the Champions League 2021 winners because it's not been decided yet. But she will. In a few months, she'll have a Champions League trophy. And they'll be playing in the Euros finals.
Yeah, we'll see. And then we'll go back and we'll play this. Looking across the starting line for Spain, there must have been some confidence because a number of players do play for Barcelona. The Spanish side is definitely loaded with Barcelona players, understandably so. But nonetheless, you look at their opponent, the Netherlands, frankly, in my opinion, should be ranked number 2 in the world, but they're not. Still, top 5 team. We were in the World Cup final. And that's a large mountain to climb. Their starting lineup features Martins, Miedema, Roord, Jackie Groenen, Van de Donk. I mean, yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And Spain came out with the victory.
Yeah, unbelievable. They even brought on Van der Sanden when they went down 1-0. And, you're bringing on Van der Sanden who got the award at the Euro 2017 or whatever the last Euros was as like the star player of the competition after they lifted the Euros, and they're bringing her on as a sub. You're like, holy shizzle.
Hey, but we always talk about how we want the gap between like the top teams and the middle teams in international soccer to really get smaller and to decrease, and that seems to be what we're seeing. So the more competition, the better.
And really quickly on that, it's a really interesting point. I think that when the leagues improve and the clubs have like tactical nuance, like Barcelona are getting better and better and going from strength to strength. When you have leagues improving around the world, the countries are improving tenfold because you're basically in a professional environment every day of the week. So we're going to start to see teams in, we're going to start to see France will continue to improve because PSG are investing in their women. You're going to start to see Spain. You're going to start to see Germany like continue to thrive. These clubs that are providing a day in, day out training regime for these women are only going to improve at international stage. I just can't wait for it.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Canada comfortably beat Wales 3-0. I'm so happy for Canada. They had goals coming from Rose, Vanes, and Jessie Fleming. They would have taken so much confidence from the game with amazing performances all round. Wales weren't actually able to get a shot on target, and there is some real talent in that Wales squad before anybody goes, yeah, but it's only Wales. They've got Jess Fishlock, Sophie Ingle, who I regularly talk about being one of the WSL superstars. Like, this is a team with real talent.
Germany comfortably beat Australia. One could say destroyed Australia 5-2, which was really disappointing, really not the result I thought this game would have resulted in. Well, you know, before it happened, Australia really is a strong side, and they've got some absolutely fantastic talent down under. So disappointing to say the least for Australia, but nonetheless, Australian news called it a brutal reality check. Well, we're not done with international friendlies.
We're not. Canada meet England next. So looking forward to that. Netherlands meet Australia. USA meet France. We're basically mixing up all the fixtures we just spoke about there, creating a mini league.
I love it.
And Germany will take on Norway just to introduce a new team into the mix. Norway, obviously, a brilliant, brilliant team in the top 20 of women's football. So that should be an absolute corker as well. And yeah, that kind of wraps up this session. But we're actually going to be coming together a lot over the next few weeks because of the NWSL Challenge Cup.
Like we mentioned, we're going to be covering a lot of the NWSL Challenge Cup. It's happening all the time, and we've got coverage for you. Check out our socials at The WOSO Show on Instagram and Twitter. We've got a lot going up there. Go to our website, thewososhow.com.
Sarah, sales pitch tonight is just on fire. We have got a lot of good stuff. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. Sorry it's a bit longer than usual, just so much to cover this week. We will catch you during the week for you Patreon listeners, and lots of love. Speak soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.